From the dawn of mankind, people overcame their biggest challenges of survivability through hunting and gathering. But then came what might be the most important invention ever. One sec break, farming. It changed everything about how we live. But when the population was sprouting, farming faced an unprecedented fate, feeding the big mouths. So people had to figure out a way that helps to provide enough food for everyone, while also protecting our environment and natural resources. Luckily, there's a new global movement that's giving us hope. Digital agriculture is promising bigger crop yields and being kinder to the environment. So, how did we go from ancient farming to high-tech solutions? And can these new technologies really help us save the planet and ensure we all have enough to eat in the future? The next big thing that will be the picture of farming is named as Agriculture 4.0. Basically, it encompasses using high-tech tools to amplify the efficiency. Farmers will have such sensors that will check each plant's health. They will have systems that milk cows and monitor their well-being faster than any human. There will be robots that will pull weeds without using chemicals. Everything will be like putting farming online and using digital information to improve how we grow and manage food. With 7.7 billion people on Earth today and a forecast of 9 billion by 2050, modern agriculture's goal is to feed everyone. Thanks to new technologies, we have a better chance to do this while protecting the planet. With more and more people on the planet, we need a lot more food, which is a big challenge for farmers. This rapid increase in food demand is a fairly recent issue. Just 300 years ago, there were only about 1 billion people in the world. Back then, farmers used simple tools like the plough, which is one of the oldest pieces of farming equipment. The plough loosens the soil, so seeds can be planted. It's a basic invention, but has been incredibly important for both farming and humanity as a whole. Around 6000 BC, Egyptian farmers began using ploughs for their fields. They first used simple hoes to remove stones and dig planting holes. Later, they used oxen to pull heavy wooden ploughs. Although the plough's design stayed mostly the same for thousands of years, the animals pulling them changed, with camels eventually joining in Egypt. By the 18th century in Europe, horses started pulling the heavy ploughs along with oxen. A 1935 film shows how hard this work was. After ploughing, farmers used harrows to break up the soil for planting, but this often left seeds on the surface. These seeds wouldn't grow, and if a harsh winter followed, the crops would fail, leading to famines. In the 18th century, many small farms struggled with this problem. Losing crops was a big deal because they were growing food for both their communities and their own families. There weren't supermarkets back then, where you could easily get what you needed. Even a small crop failure could severely impact farmers. For them, it was about survival, not just making money. Farmers found a way to cut down the risk of crop failures and famines with a method called three-field crop rotation. In the fall, they planted 1/3 of their fields with winter grain. After harvesting this in the spring, they planted another third with crops like potatoes for an autumn harvest. The final third was left to rest and refresh the soil. This method gained popularity over time because it kept the land fertile and provided a steadier food supply. By relying on the three-field system, farmers could grow crops twice a year, helping them feed their families and communities throughout the year. In the 18th century, every farmer needed a scythe, a tool with 3 layers of steel designed for cutting crops. It was crucial for harvesting, though not perfect for every type of land. When it comes to farming tools, you can think of the world in 2 zones, the scythe zone and the machete zone. This division depends on the types of plants grown and highlights how different tools are suited to various regions around the globe. Scythes are great for cutting low plants close to the ground, making them ideal for harvesting crops. On the other hand, machetes are perfect for dealing with tall, thick vegetation. They're versatile tools that can crack open coconuts and trim lawns. In places like Nag Hammadi, Egypt, farmers still use machete-like tools to harvest sugarcane today. When it's harvest time, Workers need to use the machete quickly and safely because they have a limited window before the sun rises, and the sugarcane juice retreats back into the roots. Once the harvest is done, they extract the sweet juice from the sugarcane. It's not just tasty, it's good for you too. In farming, it's not just about having tools. You also need good soil and water. In Nag Hammadi, farmers are lucky to have the Nile River. For millions of years, it's been bringing essential nutrients to the Nile Delta, which makes the land amazingly fertile. Around 5,000 years ago, Egyptian farmers set up an advanced irrigation system to water their fields. Today, pumps still send nutrient-rich water from the Nile into a network of channels. The Nile Delta has long been known for its fertile soil that fed many people in the region. But now, there are concerns. The river's water levels are dropping from what they used to be, and the soil is getting saltier over time. It ultimately affects the productivity of this historically rich farming area. So farmers are facing a double challenge here. To counter this issue, farmers are using more fertilizer, but that's not a sustainable solution in the long term because it damages the soil even more. This isn't just a problem in Egypt, it's happening worldwide. In early 2018, Cape Town faced a major crisis. The city would run out of water in the mains. Then the strict water-saving measures helped them to postpone this shutdown. But how long can this go on? Because heat waves are a big reason why water levels are dropping. In 2019, month after month, we saw record high temperatures being set. Paris hit a new record of 42.6 degrees Celsius, and New Delhi soared to a scorching 48 degrees Celsius. Around the world, extreme heat is damaging crops. It is causing about 18 to 42% loss of crops, and this is just one of the many challenges of farmers. They are also dealing with other challenges too, like soil erosion, less groundwater, and more unpredictable weather because of climate change. In Brazil, farmers are facing another big problem. There's not enough farmland, and this became glaringly clear in 2019, when the Amazon rainforest saw more fires than ever before. Environmentalists think these fires were started illegally to clear land for larger farms and pastures for cows. They suspect both the Brazilian government and farmers are involved in these activities. The Amazon rainforest plays a crucial role in our world. Plants there soak up CO2 and turn it into oxygen. That's why people call it the Earth's lungs. But when fires burned, they released carbon dioxide back into the air, which added to global warming. And greenhouse gases like CO2 are a big reason why our planet is getting hotter. Agriculture plays a big role in greenhouse gas emissions, not just because of deforestation, but also due to various farming practices. In 2019, its impact was almost as significant as that of the transportation sector. Scientists warn that if we keep up our current rate of emissions, the Earth could warm by about 4.5 degrees Celsius by 2100. This projection comes from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, highlighting the urgent need for change in how we approach farming and emissions. Though the number might not sound like much, it's a big one. That 4.5 degrees Celsius increase is an average across the whole planet and all seasons. What it means is, we'll experience much more extreme weather, intense tornadoes, and powerful hurricanes. There's also the risk that large parts of our world could become too harsh for humans and other life. But it's not too late to make a difference. We're on the brink of a farming revolution, the Agriculture 4.0. It is all about precision farming. We can farm more smartly and efficiently by using data from sensors placed on fields and crops, as well as environmental info like weather data. Scientists at the University of Bonn are working on a cool new tool called CropWatch. Its goal is to use less water, fertilizer, and pesticides while ensuring stable harvests, even with unpredictable weather. We face challenges like heat waves that harm plants, especially at crucial growth stages. Sometimes we get huge amounts of rain that the soil can't absorb properly. And then there are storms and hail that can wipe out entire crops. CropWatch will help to pinpoint these stress situations for plants. Scientists are using sensors to scan the ground and plants for problems. This system works almost similarly to how your smartphone uses a fingerprint and recognizes you. Now, these sensors are being used on plants to understand exactly what they need in terms of food and nutrients. You can see the drones equipped with cameras, the high-tech tractor that takes photos of each plant in the field, a mobile weather station that provides real-time weather data, and so many more. In the past, experienced farmers would walk through their fields to check for pests and identify weeds. But with farms getting larger, it's becoming harder to keep track of everything. Looking deep into the soil isn't easy either. Farmers can't tell how much water is left for their plants without sensors. Some farmers may not want to use this technology on their own. So, farms can hire a small team specializing in those modern equipment that gathers data, since farmers are less technical and only excel in farming, not computer programming. So the businesses offering these services will become more common. The new technology can spot problems early, often before a farmer would notice anything wrong. Agriculture 4.0 is likely to change farming in the future, much like how the Industrial Revolution transformed farming in the UK in the 19th century. Back then, machines like the plough revolutionized farming. Now, modern technology is doing the same thing in a new way. A British engineer, Trevithick, who was the inventor of the first steam locomotive, left a great impact on farming too. He deployed a steam engine for farming. In the beginning, he used it to power a wheat thresher. Initially, people didn't care much for steam engines because human labor was much cheaper. But over time, it became tough to get farmers for farming. It happened because of the Industrial Revolution of the 18th century. It attracted rural people to cities for better jobs, prosperity, and education, which led to more abandoned farms in Europe and the US. Meanwhile, factories needed workers who had once worked on farms. They required huge manpower to fuel the urban growth and industrialization. Then, farmers faced a big task. They had to feed not only themselves, but also the growing cities. To meet this demand, they started using new technologies like the steam engine to boost farm production. It took a while, but eventually, steam engines became really important for farming. Owners even started renting them out to other farmers. Those heavy machines were pulled by horses from one farm to another and used to run all day long because the rental fees were high. In the mid-19th century, during the Industrial Revolution, engineers were working hard to improve steam engines. But those engines were too risky. They often threw off sparks that could start fires in crops. Even worse, they sometimes exploded. It caused not just crop damage, but also took the lives of farmers. These explosions were a constant danger, whether in cities or on farms. John Froelich, an American engineer, who was known about the risk of sparks from steam engines. Every autumn, he traveled with friends to South Dakota to assist the farmers with the harvest. Froelich was tired of handling heavy steam engines, so he invented a new machine powered by a gasoline engine. It could move both backward and forward, and it was named the tractor. Unfortunately, it didn't catch on at first. There just wasn't enough demand for it. But Froelich didn't give up. Over the next 26 years, he kept improving his tractors. He made them more agile and safer with petrol engines. Then, World War I shook the world. Suddenly, there was a big demand for reliable farm machines like Froelich's tractor. Many farmers and agricultural workers were called to serve in the war, and that event creates a need for machines that could do more work with fewer people. During the war, with many workers away, Deere & Company, a leading farming equipment maker, noticed Froelich's innovative tractors. When the moment was right, they bought his newest model and named it the Waterloo Boy. The Waterloo Boy quickly became a sensation, with Deere selling about 5,600 of them in the first year. For the first time, tractors were used to pull ploughs across fields. Over the years, tractors continued to improve, making farmers' lives easier with each new development. The tractor quickly became a farming superstar. It started getting used everywhere, from coffee fields in Brazil to rice paddies in Laos. It's been the most important piece of farm machinery since the Industrial Revolution. Nowadays, Just one person can work a massive field with a tractor that comes with a 12-cylinder engine and 600 horsepower. Modern tractors, which combine with smart systems, also help farmers to maintain crops efficiently. However, these powerful machines are starting to hit their limits. With the Agriculture 4.0 movement, it's clear that the bigger, faster, further approach isn't enough anymore. We're running out of arable land and water, and soils are losing their fertility. Now, people are starting to believe that less is more, because modern agriculture is already here, and we've hit a turning point. We have to rethink our farming practices. It's not just about the size of the machines anymore. We're also rethinking how we use water and chemicals. The new mantra is all about doing more with less. The University of Bonn's CropWatch project is all about making farming smarter. It starts by scanning fields to find signs of trouble. Scientists look for plants that aren't as green as they should be and check for yellow or brown spots, which indicate dying tissue. They feed these patterns into their program, which then analyzes the data. For instance, if the software spots yellow leaf tips, it can tell that the soil might be too dry, helping farmers use water and chemicals more effectively. Farmers can access this information on their smartphones. To keep the data secure and private, it's stored locally on a server that only the farmer can access. Since they have their trade secrets and don't want to share everything with competitors, they need to keep some things to themselves. So data security is a big deal for farmers, just like it is for us on social media. Programs like CropWatch are the revolution. They help farmers make precise decisions about water, fertilizer, and pesticides. With these advanced tools, farmers could potentially reduce water usage by up to 50% and cut pesticide use by up to 90%. Agriculture 4.0 is reshaping the farming by focusing on environmental sustainability and precision. By analyzing the data, farmers can make informed decisions, reduce guesswork, and optimize productivity, all while minimizing the environmental impact. This approach is all about using technology to determine the best practices for each specific situation. Despite these advancements, farmers still can't completely avoid using pesticides. Both conventional and organic farming require some form of pest control. Organic farmers might use substances like copper and sulfur, which are considered natural, but aren't necessarily healthier for the environment or consumers. The need for chemicals arises not only from pest problems, but also due to the consumer's expectations. Imagine a farmer's market where every apple is perfectly round and shiny, with no blemishes at all. Consumers love these flawless fruits and expect them to look this way. To achieve this, farmers use chemicals to keep pests and bugs away. It's a tough job that costs money and affects the environment. Each imperfection on an apple means a lost chance to meet these high standards and adds to the challenge of growing perfect fruit. Today, we've developed techniques to enhance plant yields, even manipulating the plant's DNA directly. However, these superplants often come with downsides. Many modern crop varieties are vulnerable to diseases and insect attacks, so farmers have to spray them with insecticides to protect their crops. The challenge with pesticides is that it's difficult to create ones that target only specific types of insects. This means farmers sometimes need to use broad-spectrum pesticides that can affect a wide range of insects, not just the harmful ones. When a chemical kills pests such as aphids, it often affects beneficial insects like honeybees too. Additionally, chemicals intended to be toxic to pests can also impact humans to some degree. This understanding has been around for decades. In the 1930s, Europe grappled with a severe typhus epidemic spread by lice, which was a deadly threat. However, at that time, insecticides were very expensive and highly poisonous to humans, so they couldn't use them to control the lice. It was a major problem that needed urgent solutions. Paul Müller, a Swiss chemist working for Geigy, was tasked with creating an insecticide that could kill insects effectively, be safe for humans, and be economical to produce. To find the right chemical, he conducted numerous experiments using glass boxes. In each box, he placed different chemicals he had developed and observed how they affected flies that were introduced into the boxes. Despite his persistent efforts, Müller faced disappointment for many years. With 349 failed attempts before achieving success, in September 1939, after numerous experiments, he found the right combination. He cleaned out the glass box where he had tested it, yet it continued to kill flies on its own. That's how the invention happened of the infamous chemical known as DDT. And he assured everyone that it wasn't harmful to people. During World War II, life changed drastically for people everywhere. The poor soldiers faced not only human foes, but also deadly diseases like malaria and typhus. They were spread by pests like mosquitoes and lice. Then, to get rid of those natural enemies, people found DDT like the perfect solution. The Swiss company Gibbons sold this chemical to both the Allies and the German military during World War II. Soldiers used spray cans filled with DDT to fight with body lice. The Germans also used DDT on farms to boost their food production. And when the war ended, tons of DDT were sold to farmers and even civilians who appreciated its ability to rid homes of pesky bugs. When an aerosol insecticide was introduced, it promised to kill flies and mosquitoes on contact, but it needed to be applied repeatedly. However, as DDT became more common, scientists noticed something worrying. Some insects were starting to resist it. Things got even scarier when traces of DDT showed up in food, raising concerns about its impact on our health. American biologist Rachel Carson was the first to speak out against the use of DDT and other insecticides. In her groundbreaking book, Silent Spring, published in 1962, she exposed the environmental damage caused by these chemicals and connected their use to the decline in bird populations. Carson faced strong opposition from the pesticide industry, which tried to discredit her work and undermine her reputation as a scientist. Then, John F. Kennedy supported Rachel Carson's thought. He initiated an investigation into her research and findings, which confirmed her conclusions about the harmful effects of DDT. This validation came after years of debate and criticism from the pesticide industry. In 2001, a significant global decision was made to ban DDT in 120 countries due to its environmental and health risks. However, some countries, such as India, continue to use DDT to combat malaria because it remains effective against disease-carrying mosquitoes. Despite the ban, concerns remain among environmentalists that prohibiting specific chemicals like DDT may not fully solve the problem. They worry that if farmers are restricted from using these chemicals, they might resort to using even more toxic alternatives to protect their crops. Agriculture 4.0 offers a smart solution to reduce risks, identifies specific areas of the field that truly need pesticides and fertilizers. However, managing animals can be challenging because they can carry diseases that spread quickly within the herd. It's strange how domesticating animals can make them more prone to diseases. When humans and animals live closely together for a long time, they tend to share illnesses more often. Scientists think diseases like measles might have come from animals, like rinderpest. Although humans were mildly affected by measles, rinderpest killed around 90% of cows. In the early 1700s, this deadly disease swept through Europe, wiping out one cattle herd after another. Since people relied on cattle for food, that incident caused widespread hunger and even starvation. Concerned about its effects, the Catholic Church took action. Pope Clement V, whose wealth was tied to cattle herds, instructed his personal physician, Giovanni Maria Lancisi, to investigate this deadly disease. In 1715, Lancisi shared advice that's still useful today. He suggested removing sick cattle, covering their bodies with lime, isolating infected herds, and stopping animal transport. These steps are still used now, but luckily, we've moved on from harsh punishments like hanging and quartering for those who don't follow the rules. The Vatican managed to control the rinderpest epidemic, but animal diseases continue to be a threat. About 80 years later, Edward Jenner, a country doctor, made an interesting observation. People who had recovered from cowpox didn't seem to get smallpox. He then went for some such experiments that likely wouldn't be allowed today. Jenner tested a human. He took pus from someone infected with cowpox and injected it into an 8-year-old boy who had never had any type of pox. The boy got cowpox, but then recovered. After that, Jenner injected the boy with pus from a smallpox patient. As expected, the boy remained healthy instead of falling ill. Jenner had just invented vaccination. Since then, vaccination has saved countless lives. It has helped us control many human diseases like polio, and has also been crucial in managing animal diseases that impact agricultural productivity. By the 1920s, scientists had developed a vaccine for rinderpest, and with a consistent vaccination strategy, the disease was eradicated by 2011. However, new challenges have emerged in veterinary medicine. Antibiotics were used to boost the growth of pigs and cattle, and to increase milk production in dairy cows. While many countries have banned this practice, a 2019 study by the World Organization of Animal Health revealed that nearly a third of 155 countries still use antibiotics for growth promotion. This widespread use has led to antibiotic resistance, with some bacteria becoming so resistant that our current medications are no longer effective. There are other ways to keep livestock healthy. Agriculture 4.0 offers some of these solutions. Joachim Klindworth, a dairy farmer, who is one of the first to bring his cowshed into the digital age. He relies on technology rather than drugs to keep his cows healthy and increase milk production. This is essential given the current milk surplus and low prices. Klindworth said, "We keep asking ourselves when this tough dairy crisis will finally end. How much longer can we hold on? Our farms have been in the family for generations, passed down from father to son, and that's what I want to do as well. Giving up is not an option." Agriculture 4.0 has set goals to ensure the future of farms like Joachim Klindworth's. His fully automated cowshed offers plenty of space, light, and fresh air, which keeps the cows relaxed and reduces stress-related injuries. An automated feeding belt saves space and takes care of the feeding chores. There's also a fully automated system that guides the cows to a modern rotary milking parlour. This high-tech milk carousel is like a slow-moving merry-go-round, but for cows. The first milk carousel, called the rotolactor, appeared in 1930 and could milk 50 cows in just over 12 minutes, though workers still had to attach the pumps manually. Joachim's milk carousel, introduced in 2017, is not only the largest in Germany, but also the second largest in the world. It can handle 56 cows at a time and milk 250 cows in an hour with minimal human intervention. There's an infrared camera that scans the cow's udder and guides the pumps to the teats. Once attached, the robot cleans and preps the udder to improve hygiene and prevent any chances of infection. It also checks the cow's health. Each cow has a digital health file, and if the system detects any issues, it sends out a red alert. An employee then checks on the cow and takes necessary actions. These new technologies lower labour costs, boost milk production, and improve cow health. This farm has cut down its medication use by 30%. However, there's a downside. The farmer now spends more time in the office managing technology and less time outside doing what they love. At organic farms, sick animals are first treated with natural remedies or homeopathy. Conventional medicines can be used only if these modern methods don't work. Organic farming aims to use natural resources in a sustainable way, much like Agriculture 4.0. Since Agriculture 4.0 is still advancing, could organic farming offer a rapid solution to the climate crisis? According to a study by British scientists, if all of British agriculture switched to organic methods, it could reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 24%. However, this shift could also significantly reduce crop yields and lead to increased reliance on imported food. Importing food not only adds to greenhouse gas emissions from production, but also from transportation. Their findings suggested that transitioning entirely to organic farming might not be beneficial for us. If consumers reduce their meat, fish, and dairy intake and opt for more vegetables and nuts, local organic farmers could likely meet the demand for food. However, the truth is, not everyone will make this dietary shift. We're used to living the way we do now. Instead of enforcing strict veganism for everyone, which can cause friction between vegans and non-vegans, I believe the better approach is to explore alternatives. For example, lab-grown meats and plant-based meat substitutes are becoming so advanced that they're nearly identical to traditional meat. Agriculture 4.0 is tackling these conflicting needs. One impressive initiative is PhenoRob from the University of Bonn. The small robot is tackling both the climate crisis and the increasing food demand. A computer scientist, Cyril Stashnis, is developing a prototype robot that not only figures out what each plant needs, but also acts on it right away. His first goal is to teach the computer how to handle weeds effectively. To teach the robot, Stashnis must explain the difference between beneficial and harmful plants. This task is more challenging than it seems. Unlike the vast databases used by internet systems that recognize images from billions of uploaded photos, this robot has only a few hundred or thousand images of plants in the field to learn from, and this limitation makes their job tougher. The robot needs to decide in milliseconds whether each plant should stay or go. There's no time to waste as it must cover the entire field efficiently. Precise location is absolutely critical in autonomous robot farming. If the robot misses a small emerging plant, its whole purpose becomes pointless. So another group of the University of Bonn is focusing on teaching the robot to understand exactly where it is positioned in the field. To ensure effective weed control, a drone surveys the entire field and creates a detailed map for the robot. This map allows the robot to navigate with exceptional accuracy down to just 2 centimeters, which is currently unmatched by other machines. With this precise map in hand, the robot begins its task. As it moves across the field, the robot uses its sensors to scan the ground and identify any weeds present. Upon detecting weeds, it activates a precise laser that eliminates them instantly, eliminating the need for traditional pesticides. This approach not only boosts efficiency, but also minimizes environmental impact. So smart robots like PhenoRob could change farming a lot. They might lead farming to focus on doing more with less, using smaller and more efficient methods. Right now, farming mostly uses big machines and grows a lot of the same crops in large fields. And all the big machines used in farming today are heavy and not suitable for every type of soil or places. But with smaller, nimble robots, things could change. These robots can work in diverse landscapes, not just large flat fields. They can handle tricky terrain like fields with hedges and wildflower areas where bees and other helpful insects live. Agriculture 4.0 has the potential to blur the lines between traditional and organic farming. Why? Because instead of relying on chemicals to kill weeds, these small robots can do the job themselves. The era of digital agriculture is set to redefine how we view farming methods, how we grow crops, and how we live our life.